Hey guys, how's it going? So in this video, I'm going to try something a little bit different considering there's no UFC card this weekend, and I'm going to rank UFC fighters' walkout music. Now this has everything to do with their walkout song, nothing to do with what I view them as a fighter, how good I think they are, whether I like them or not. This is primarily based on how much I like their walkout song, and it doesn't really need to be said, but everything in this video is subjective. So if you have any differing opinions, please leave them in the comments, and we'll just get straight into our first fighter. And we're going to start off with Ilia Topuria, who walks out to Canción del Mariachi by Antonio Banderas. There's two things I like about this one. The first one is the link between the song and Ilia Topuria's Mexican heritage. His name's El Matador. He fights out of Spain. Also Georgia representation here, but mainly Spain is his sort of branding. And this song obviously links to that. And the second thing that I like the most is the slow build-up. It starts off very quiet, very somber. This is before Ilia even starts walking out. This simple basic guitar that plays this melody, and then it slowly builds and builds, faster strumming, more ecstatic, louder as Ilia starts to walk out, and you just see the atmosphere change, the electricity in the air surrounding it, and it gets to the chorus, which is very memorable. It gets stuck in your head, and overall Ilia's made this song synonymous with himself. You hear this song as a MMA fan, I doubt anyone is going to think of anything other than Ilia Topuria. Whether that has to do with his rise in the UFC or how sort of iconic and unique this song is to him, I don't know, but either way, this song is very iconic, very unique, stands out compared to some other people, so for that reason, I'm going to have to put it all the way up at S tier already. We have one in there, so yeah, we'll move on to the next fighter, who is... Next up we have Tom Aspinall, who walks out to Move On Up by Curtis Mayfield. I really like this as a walkout. It's a bit upbeat, happy, very celebratory sort of walkout. The lyrics themselves are pretty motivational in a sense, but it's not outwardly that hype or anything like that. And it isn't the most intimidating either, which does sort of lose at some points. But it is a very fun, happy, upbeat one. And from the minute you hear those two drum beats at the start, you instantly know what's going to happen. He does sprinkle in some surprises there as well. At UFC 296, when he took on Sergey Pavlovich for the interim title, he walked out to Englishman in New York by Sting, which then transitioned into Move On Up, which is also a really nice detail. He has a habit of doing that occasionally. And while it isn't the most crazy or intimidating walkout, I do still really like it. I like its sort of upbeat nature. It is unique, like it stands out from other walkout songs. So I'm going to put this one up in A tier. And on to the next fighter, who is... Now onto Islam Makhachev. He walks out to Dreams by DJ Narrowman. Listen, he's one of the best to do it skill-wise. He is amazing at the sport. Probably a GOAT given a few more years. His walkout song's pretty average though. It isn't anything crazy. It doesn't stand out to me. It's pretty run-of-the-mill. It does have that upbeat, fast-paced energy to it, which is a plus, but outside of that, it's very run-of-the-mill. I mean, if I played this, you wouldn't really know whose it was specifically. I didn't even know Makhachev had this as his walkout song until like looking up the songs for this video. It's just very run-of-the-mill and generic, and could honestly be any fighter's walkout song. It doesn't match his personality in any real way. So for that reason, it's going to go in D tier. Not bad, but still the worst of the bunch. Next up we have Daniel Cormier, walks out to Right Above It by Lil Wayne. Now there's a few things I like about this as a walkout song, and then a few things I'm not particularly a fan of. The few things I like, there's the fact that it's Lil Wayne. Lil Wayne grew up in Louisiana, so did Daniel Cormier, so did Dustin Poirier. We saw that sort of connection between the three of them recently. And another thing I really like about this song is that intro part. The trumpets at the start, really triumphant start to the song. But I find as it goes on, it sort of just starts to become your run-of-the-mill walkout rap song. A lot of fighters walk out to rap songs, so it does make it kind of hard to distinguish between them. And this one doesn't particularly stand out in any way, which leads to it just being kind of an average walkout song with a few highlights in it. But because of that, I'm going to put it in C tier. It's good, but it's not as good as some of the upper level walkout songs. And we'll move on to our next fighter, who is... Next up, it's Tai Tuivasa, who walks out to a different song pretty much every time he walks out, but one of his more iconic ones was Barbie Girl by Aqua, and I'm a bit conflicted about his walkout songs. As songs in their own right, they'd be horrendous as walkouts. Like any other fighter tries to walk out to these, they're probably going to get laughed out of the arena. They're not good in their own right, but the fact that Tai Tuivasa has made a gimmick out of walking out to these, and they are a very memorable part of his run, especially when he's on a bit of a title run. A lot of people remembered him because of these walkouts. He's a very exciting character with his shoeies and all that, but the walkouts were another part of that. And he's walked out to a few other ones. My Heart Will Go On by Celine Dion as well. That was a very memorable one. And then Wannabe by the Spice Girls, which was another very memorable one. And I think that's what sells these walkout songs particularly. It's the fact that Tuivasa makes them memorable. He's very exciting, ecstatic when he walks out to them. And it kind of works and makes them memorable. So for that reason, I'm going to put them at the bottom of C tier. As walkout songs, they kind of suck. But I like the way Tuivasa has embraced it. And we'll move on to our next fighter, who is... And next we have Curtis Blaydes. He walks out to the Mortal Kombat theme by the Immortals, and there are two sides to this one. For one, I think it is kind of corny. I think it's a little bit goofy. It's not very intimidating. There are those sort of downsides. A lot of people aren't going to get hype when they hear the Mortal Kombat theme, but maybe some people will, because I don't know, because I have a weird endearment to it. I think it's cool that he's picking something that is very different to your average walkouts. Obviously, Mortal Kombat links to the UFC. In fact, it's probably the closest thing to link to the UFC if you're going off a video game. And I do like how it seems a bit honest, the fact that he's walking out to something that he clearly likes that much. And I kind of respect that. So the pros and cons kind of weigh out to make it a decent walkout song. Nothing special about it though. It's not the most intimidating, but it is kind of memorable with how different it is. So for that reason, I'm going to put it in the middle of C tier. Just for the pros and cons evening now. And we'll move on to our next fighter. And next up we have Alex Pereira. He walks out to It's Sorry by Sepultura, and I can't beat around the bush. I think this is one of the best walkout songs in UFC history. First of all, the intimidation factor. This song starts playing, it silences the whole crowd. The air's just thick with tension. On his title run, he looked like an absolute boogeyman with the way he'd walk out to this. As it slowly builds up, the chants get louder and louder. He walks out, does his bow and arrow. It all just fits the theming and the core identity of Pereira being this descendant of these warrior people from Brazil. And on top of that, it's so unique. No one else has really walked out to anything like this. Especially something so... This song, I doubt anyone knew about before Pereira brought it into the UFC, or at least the common UFC fan base had no idea about this song. And you hear this song, instantly think of Pereira as well. He's made it his identity, that and Duvet by Boa somehow, but that's besides the point. This song in particular, I think is never going to get beat in terms of intimidation. So for that reason, I'm going to chuck this one at the top of S tier. I think it is one of the best in the UFC to date. And we'll move on to our next fighter. Next up, we have Shavkat Rakhmonov, who walks out to Ulkenda by Machensky. I don't know if I said that right, but close enough. This song in itself is a very, very solid song. The deep voice, the constant chant-like rhythm, the booming, thudding bass really add this intimidation factor to it and add this atmosphere surrounding it that the boogeyman's sort of coming into the octagon. And during its come up, this would have been such a scary song to hear prior to fighting him. And on top of that, I like the uniqueness. I don't think this is a song that many people knew about before Shavkat started walking out to it in the UFC, which I always appreciate. But at the same time, is it the most recognizable with Shavkat? Not really. I mean, if I played this to a UFC fan, I don't know if they'd be able to exactly pinpoint it as Shavkat's walkout song, unlike you can with Pereira's or Ilia's. And it just kind of blends in with a lot of different ones, but at the same time, it is a very good walkout song in its own right, just not the most recognizable. So I'm going to put it in B tier, not as good as the A's and S's, but also not as sort of average as the C's and D's. And we'll move on to our next fighter, who is...
Blessed be our new founding fathers.
Next up we have Brian Ortega, and his probably most memorable walkout would definitely be the Purge walkout, where he walked out to the Purge by Demetrious X. Very, very intimidating start. They all came out in the Purge masks, hoodies. The start of it, sirens, the Purge monologue thing that the woman says. Very, very intimidating, but as it went on, it just devolved into a trap remix of the Purge, which with time I think has aged pretty badly. I think it was definitely a product of its time. Since then, he does usually walk out to X Gon Give It To You by DMX, which I think is a very, very good song to walk out to. It's very hard, rough, gritty, gets the energy up, very tough walkout, and I think it does surpass that Purge one, but the Purge one was also iconic in its own right at the time, and they're both very, very good. So they're not iconic, not amazing, but they are very good. So I'm going to put him below Shavkat in the B tier. And we'll move on to our next fighter, who is... And next we have Jose Aldo. He walks out to Run This Town by Jay-Z, and I really, really like this one. I think this is one of the most recognizable when it comes to linking a walkout song with their fighter. It's a very solid walkout. The starting part, where it's the same beat over and over again, before slowly building into the song, is a really good start to build that excitement, build that hype, especially with someone as fun and explosive as Jose Aldo. And he'd always make the walkouts fun. He'd keep the energy high, be running around, jumping around, hopping around. Credit to him at UFC 301 for putting We Are The Champions in there as well. That was also a really nice one where he came out with the crown. Very suiting for his run and his sort of return back to the game at bantamweight. Is it one of the most iconic? I wouldn't say so. So I'm going to put it in A tier. I'm going to put it at the top of A tier though, because it is one of the best when it comes to recognizability. But I wouldn't say it's particularly unique in the sense that the S tiers are. And we'll move on to our next fighter. I gotta grind, won't stop. Next up we have DJ, who walks out to Go Get It by T.I. As a song, I like it, but I don't really particularly think it's a great walkout song. DJ is one of the best to do it at flyweight, so for someone that reputable at that division, I think it is underselling it a bit. It doesn't have any moments that build the atmosphere or the electricity in the air. And overall, it is just very generic. I think any fighter could really walk out to this and you wouldn't really be able to tell that it was DJ's song. He hasn't really made it synonymous with his character. And it does suffer from what Daniel Cormier's did, where it's just a hip-hop song that I think he liked, put it in as his walkout song, but it doesn't have any moments that particularly get anyone feeling any sort of way. At least Cormier's had that bit at the start, which I think puts it slightly above this. So I'm going to put DJ's walkout song in D tier, above Islam's, but still in D tier. It's just a tiny bit below average in my opinion. Anyway, next fighter. Next up we have Aljamain Sterling, who walks out to I Love by Joyner Lucas, and this is the same issue I had with DJ's. It's just very, very generic. It's nothing crazy. I don't listen to this song and instantly think of Aljamain Sterling. Vice versa, I don't see Aljamain Sterling's walkout and think of this song particularly. I don't really pay attention to it. And it just seems like another one where he likes a song, he wanted to walk out to it, fair enough. But as a walkout song, I don't think it really gives anything it particularly needs to. It doesn't really intimidate his opponent. It doesn't serve to build hype in the arena particularly. It doesn't add much in my opinion. So for that reason, I'm going to put this one in D tier, but I'm going to put it at the very bottom because at least the other two I think do build a bit of hype. This is a very soft, lower energy song, so I think it doesn't really help. And we'll move on to our next fighter, who is... And next up we have Conor McGregor, who has one of the most recognizable walkout songs in UFC history. It starts off with The Foggy Dew by Sinead O'Connor, painting heritage to the Irish background of Conor. And then it slowly transitions into Hypnotized by the Notorious B.I.G. And I love both of these. The fact that Sinead O'Connor showed up to one show and sung Conor McGregor out also adds to this a little bit. But outside of that, The Foggy Dew obviously represents Conor in one way, and then it transitions into Hypnotize, which not only is a very upbeat, fun hip-hop song, very tough, gritty as well, sort of encapsulating Conor's gangster sort of persona he puts on. But I also really like this as a transition. I think it's one of the cleanest transitions we've had. And I honestly think it's probably one of the most recognizable UFC walkout songs in history. So while it is very, very good, I'm going to put it under Alex Pereira's. I don't know why. I really like Alex Pereira's. I think the uniqueness stands out particularly. Connor's is iconic, but the Hypnotized by Notorious B.I.G. isn't a particularly unique song. So I'm going to put it in S tier and just under Pereira, but it is very, very close. And we'll move on to our next fighter. Forgive me for my wrongs, I have just begun. Next up we have Carlos Prates, who walks out to Purple Lamborghini by Skrillex and Rick Ross. There is two sides to this one. One, it comes from the Suicide Squad movie, which is deducting a few points, to be honest. And it is a little goofy in the sense that it's kind of dubstep mixed with Rick Ross doing his thing. But at the same time, it does go kind of hard when he walks out to it. It's very high energy for sure. That's probably one of the most high energy ones, especially with Prates singing along to it and sort of taking the energy in from this song. And it is definitely one of the ones where the beat to the rhythm to the just general vibe of the song gets people really excited and builds that electricity within the arena. So I'm going to put this one at the top of B tier. It could honestly go down a little bit because it is a bit of a goofier song, I guess. But at the same time, I do really like it as a walkout song. I think it encapsulates Prates pretty well. And we'll move on to our next fighter. And our final fighter for today is Max Holloway. Now, he consistently walks out to Hawaiian Kickboxer by Moke Boy. It's his usual walkout, but he does have a habit of putting a song in before that. Against Volk for the third fight or the second fight, one of the two, he walked out to Running Up That Hill by Kate Bush. Obvious reference to Stranger Things, Max from Stranger Things. That was when that show was really big. And then my favourite one to date was at UFC 300 where he walked out to Hawaiian Superman. I thought this one was his best walkout to date. It was very high energy, and then mixed with that Moke Boy Hawaiian Kickboxer near the end, I thought it really was the perfect duo of songs to really represent Max. First of all, his Hawaiian identity, but also kept the energy high, kept it hype. And overall, I think Max Holloway's walkouts are very solid consistently. There's nothing special about them that makes them stand out particularly, but they are very solid. So I'm going to put him in the middle of B tier, just below Shavkat, but above Ortega. And that's it, guys. Those were my rankings for some of the UFC fighters' walkout music. I know I missed quite a few. I tried to get a wide diversity when it came to rankings-wise. I didn't want to just do the champs in this one. So I tried mixing up a bit, but there are definitely a lot of people that I forgot about. So there might be a part 2 of this video. Once again, everything in this video was just my opinion, subjective. Please leave your thoughts in the comments if you thought I ranked one too high or too low. There were quite a few that honestly I was a bit sort of in between. And yeah, I'll see you guys probably in a week or so for the next UFC card. And yeah, bye bye.